Some Americans have been among those waiting for days to be let in.
A Utah couple still trying to get out of the Middle East. They had traveled to Israel just days before the war broke out.
News specialist Shelby Lofton spoke with them about their journey back to American soil.
In the middle of the night, we literally felt, some rumbling.
A few days into their trip of a lifetime, Jan and Mark Sieverts found themselves inside a country in turmoil.
It was nearby missile strikes that we experienced.
The Sieverts, who are from Washington, Utah, traveled with the tour group Israel Revealed.
We had just arrived in Tel Aviv.
They noticed military staging and saw missile strikes outside of their hotel.
We certainly knew the war was on.
They tried to go home, but found themselves stuck.
Our original flight had already been canceled, and we tried to look at alternative options, and those were also canceled.
They said despite the chaos, they stayed calm.
It wasn't fearful, wasn't dramatic, and immediately the Israeli military, their professional response.
Their tour guide, Stephen Rona, led them to secure places.
When we went to the Garden Tomb, it was remarkably empty.
Away from the conflict.
We didn't get to go to Bethlehem, for example, because that's so close to the Gaza Strip.
The only way to get back to the U.S. was to cross the border into Jordan.
We did go through in 2 hours and 16 minutes. We'd heard that the groups that had gone through the day before was more than 5 hours.
The Sieverts and two other Utah couples now wait for their flight out of Amman Tuesday morning.
We're not the traveling types, so we've been outside of our comfort zone. We will definitely be glad to get back.
Shelby Lofton, KSL-5 News.
Shelby, thanks for that report. And once the Sieverts and two other Utah couples get out of Jordan on Tuesday, they'll fly to Europe and then the U.S.
Yeah, long trip here in Utah. The state showed its support for Israel by lighting up the Capitol in blue and white last night. Local Israelis and community members also lit candles in memory of the more than 100 Israeli citizens killed. And it was what is being called Israel's Ground Zero.
We just really wanted to have a little space together as a community to honor the people who were murdered in our country this week. And 100 of them were buried today in Kibbutz Be'eri, which is one of the places that got the most horrific slaughter.
That 100 in a specific place in Israel. They also passed out flyers stating the names of the people who were kidnapped and kept hostage in an effort, they say, to humanize the war.
Also at the memorial, Palestinians who felt compelled to attend the vigil after seeing the Capitol lit up in blue and white. They stood silently until the end, where they held signs and the Palestine flag while chanting "Free Palestine."
We came here to represent a voice that doesn't exist in this narrative, to represent lives that are, people that are dying and they have no one to talk to. They have gatherings that are not on that scale. Their life is not as appreciated.
Omar says they want to stop the genocide on Gaza and give a voice to those civilians who have been left with nothing.
There was also support for Israel across the country this weekend. A journey, a lot of people thinking about her.
Yeah, some good news there. And it is looking good for an Olympic return to Utah. A big vote by the International Olympic Committee all but sealed the deal for a return to Salt Lake City.
Okay, this is true. Let's get you up to speed. KSL spoke with the man who is working to make sure that it happens. Frazier Bullock, CEO and president of the Salt Lake City, Utah Committee for the Games, says the key to Utah's bid is support. He says there is 100% support from political leaders, about 82% from the public, which when you consider venues and cities that host the Olympics, that's great. Bullock says Utah is open to hosting the games in either year, either 30 or 34, but hopes for 34 to put some distance between the 2028 Summer Olympic Games in Los Angeles.
Other cities are working on 2030, France, Switzerland, and Sweden, but nobody has been named by the IOC for 2034 other than Salt Lake City.
Now, Bullock says the next step is something called targeted dialogue. That's when a city begins the process of negotiating a contract with the IOC. He says once a city reaches that stage, you're on the right track to securing an award.
Targeted dialogue for 2034 set to begin in November. So we could know by the end of the year, but come on now. We kind of said they're going to announce both at the same time next year. So don't count on November, folks. I mean, maybe for the targeted dialogue talk. But yeah, well, we got to wait probably till next summer.
Absolutely. Well, this week we're talking a lot about .org.
Well, today, people living in the Ballpark neighborhood get the chance to learn more about a proposed rezoning of that area. The Salt Lake City Council adopted a plan last October, shortly before the Bees announced they'd be flying away to daybreak for the 2025 season. The plan includes recommendations for the area when it comes to future development and use of the land. Mayor has initiated a petition to rezone that neighborhood based on that plan. Salt Lake City's planning staff will have 3 information booths set up today for a self-guided walking tour from 4 to 6. There will be 1 at the Ballpark track station and 2 at Jefferson Park. Heads up if you'd like to participate in those. All right, we hope you saw it over the weekend. Take a look here.